Besok kali.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will start the virtual meeting in a few more minutes, so please wait patiently.
Morning. Udah berapa yang masuk?
Bu Sinta belum kayaknya. Belum ya.
Morning.
Morning. Sinta.
Selamat pagi.
Where is your background, Bu Sinta?
Aduh Pak, nggak bisa Pak nih. I just
Yeah.
finished actually with the American. Ini saya sekarang kayaknya I think we work even more than before COVID. Amerika sekarang virtual meeting pagi terus Pak. 8 o'clock in the morning they already asked for a virtual meeting, with the US. It's crazy.
So this is the second one today, right?
This is already the second one today. And last night, I had meeting with the UN. It's like starting at 10 p.m., believe it or not.
Wow,
It's like crazy.
So they are making you sleepless.
Yeah, this is not nice. I think we are working more through COVID with all this Zoom meeting,
Pak Vega ini jadi moderator.
Ya.
Can we start now? Okay, we will start the virtual meeting now. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely welcome you to the Indonesia-Korea CEO Virtual Business Dialogue. First of all, allow me to express my gratitude for your time and attendance. We are very delighted and looking forward to your participation today. And to give you an overview, this virtual event will discuss the roadmap and progress of the fourth industrial revolution or 4IR implementation in K-sector industries in Indonesia and Korea. Today's meeting will also address the potential of trade and investment relations between Indonesia and Korea in the 4IR, especially with the momentum of the conclusion of Indonesia-Korea TEPA negotiations. Let me remind you that starting from now, you can submit your questions through Slido. You can open from your browser, type slide.do, and enter the event code 57300. Once again, put your questions on Slido and enter the event code 57300. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, I would like to give my warm welcome to Ms. Sinta Wijayakamdani, Vice Chairman of Kadin Indonesia for International Relations, His Excellency Umar Hadi, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the Republic of Korea, and His Excellency Kim Chang-boom, the Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to the Republic of Indonesia. Also, today we have so many exceptional panelists. I also want to welcome Mr. Bernardino Vega, Head of Permanent Committee for Asia Pacific, Kadin Indonesia, Mr. Jatmiko Briswicaksono, Head of the Center for International Trade Cooperation Studies, Ministry of Trade, Mr. Taufik Bawazir, Director General of Metal, Machine, Transportation, and Electronic Industry, Ministry of Industry, Mr. Ade Lukman, Chairman of Indonesia Food and Beverage Manufacturers Association, Mr. Hamdani Zulkarnain, Chairman of Automobile and Motorcycle Equipment Industry Association, Ms. Anna Patricia Sutanto from Indonesia Textile Association, Mr. Yongki Sugiarto, Co-Chairman 1 of the Association of Indonesia Automotive Industry, and Mr. Jong Yong Lee, Director General of Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, and all the distinguished guests. Without any further ado, we will proceed to our first agenda. We will have the welcome remarks presented by Ms. Sinta Wijajakamdani, Vice Chairman of Kadin Indonesia for International Relations. Please, Ms. Sinta, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. So, Your Excellency Pak Umar Hadi, the Ambassador of Republic of Indonesia to Republic of Korea, Excellency Mr. Kim Jang-yum, Ambassador of Republic Korea to Republic Indonesia, Mr. Taufik Bawazir, Director General of Metal, Machine, Transportation, Electronic from the Ministry of Industry, Pak Jatmiko from the Ministry of Trade, our panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I think a very good morning to you all, and it's nice to see many good friends here, although we cannot see in person. It is an honor, definitely a privilege for me on behalf of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry to welcome you to the first Indonesia-Korea CEO Virtual Business Dialogue. Through this meeting among government, business, and strategic partners, I hope we can strengthen the relationship and explore business opportunity between both countries, especially during this pandemic. Amid the current global economic uncertainty, Indonesia and Korea have managed actually strong cooperation and shared similar viewpoints. There are still enormous trade and investment opportunity that can be further explored by the two countries. Now, Indonesia and Korea have developed remarkable economic ties since our diplomatic relations in 1966. In terms of trade and investment, the two countries has very dynamic and positive trends. I think I want to just share with you the numbers in 2019. The total trade between Indonesia and Korea reached $15 billion US. Meanwhile, from 2015 to 2019, the trade balance of Indonesia and South Korea has shown a steady increase, average of about 2.5%. Meanwhile, Korea investment in Indonesia amounted to about 1 million throughout 2,952 projects in 2019. Sorry, 1,070 million, sorry. In November 2019, Indonesia and South Korea have signed the joint declaration on completion of the Indonesia-Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or ICA-SIPA, in Busan, Korea, marking an end of the long delay of negotiation process. This is indeed an exceptional momentum for both Indonesia and South Korea to strengthen the trade and investment relations, especially in the field of fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0 implementation. I think concurrently, technology and digitalization have been transforming manufacturing system across the world towards a more interconnected data system that is faster, more flexible, and more efficient to generate higher quality. In the recent years, I think we have seen that more interconnected data system that is faster, more flexible, more efficient, we really need for the higher quality product that will reduce the cost. I think the phenomenon is familiar to us with the term of the 4.0 industrial revolution, primarily focusing on interconnectivity, automation, machine learning, and real-time data. I think in recent years, through the vision of making Indonesia 4.0, Indonesia has been vigorously catching up with the 4IR implementation in the 5 key sector industry, namely food and beverage, textile, automotive, chemical, and electronic. This approach is aimed to create considerable uplift in overall GDP, manufacturing contribution, and employment opportunity. I think, therefore, the Indonesia-Korea, this dialogue is an essential platform for exploring and realizing the trade and investment potentials between Indonesia and South Korea. This is an excellent chance to discuss current practices, challenges, and the implementation of 4IR, especially with the spirit of the ICA-SIPA finalization, as both countries have the significant to strengthen the partnership. I believe that we are enthusiastic about being mutually benefit from this opportunity. We all realize that in achieving such huge ambition, a holistic and committed support from all parties, including the government, private sector, and the society, shall play a crucial role. Therefore, Kadin Indonesia, as the umbrella of all the private sector in Indonesia, working very closely with the government, and also the only nationwide business organization established and mandated by law to represent the private sector in Indonesia, is ready to highly support and strategic development plans resulted of today's meeting. Now, I really see this COVID-19 as a momentum for us to really enhance our better relations, and we need to start the work. I strongly hope that Indonesia, Korea Today CEO Virtual Business Dialogue will be the seed of many more meetings or forums to come in bringing the development for both nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sinta Kamdani, for the warm and pleasant remark. Our next welcoming remark will be presented by His Excellency Umar Hadi, the Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the Republic of Korea. Please, Mr. Umar Hadi, the time is yours.
Good morning, Annyeonghaseyo. I am very happy to be here this morning. And first of all, of course, I would like to express my appreciation and thanks to Ibu Sinta and her team at the Indonesian Chambers of Commerce and Industry for hosting this virtual business dialogues. I would also like to express my appreciation and regards to my very close friend and brother, Ambassador Kim Chang-bum in Jakarta. And he is a very hard worker and a very wise man with wealth of experience in the diplomacy. So I'm very lucky to work together with him. I should also like to mention that this morning there are about 50 participants from the Korean side. I think more than 50, including some important figures. I should mention at least one good friend of mine, the chairman of the Indonesia committee at the KCCI, Mr. Yoon Chung-sun. ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I'm very happy because apparently during this COVID-19 pandemic, despite many limitations in our physical movement, but more and more initiatives have been developed, have been growing in trying to make the relationship between Indonesia and Korea stronger, closer, and more beneficial to our respective peoples. This morning, I think this virtual roundtable is very timely because both countries are preparing for post-pandemic recovery. We all know that all of us are in a very difficult situation. Some of us even are suffering business-wise and personal-wise, but the spirit of togetherness, the spirit of solidarity, and the commitment to work and continue to work hard, I believe we will survive this and even we will flourish, especially when it comes to Indonesia-Korea Special Strategic Partnership. This is a very strong bond because this bond is not merely based on profits or benefits, but this bond is based on things which are much more deeper, such as sense of brotherhood and sisterhood, and also, of course, the fact that the two countries are fellow democracies that promotes human rights, social justice, and both of us want to create the world of peace and prosperity. I think all the speakers in this roundtable will provide you with enough information about where Indonesia is today and what we hope to accomplish in the next months and years. And it is our expectation, it is our hope that the Korean business community will work together with us. So once again, thank you very much for being here, and I wish you a good discussion on this virtual roundtable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, His Excellency Umar Hadi, for the remarkable remark. Our schedule is followed now with welcome remarks presented by His Excellency Kim Chang-bum, the Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to the Republic of Indonesia. Please, Mr. Kim Chang-bum, the time is yours.
Yes, very good morning. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. My dear friend, Ibu Shinta, Vice Chairwoman of Kadin Indonesia, and my dear brother and partner, as always, Bapak Dubes, Bapak Umar Hadi, and Bapak Bernardino Vega from Kadin, who will be leading us throughout the whole this journey to our virtual CEO Business Dialogue, and all the distinguished panelists from all sectors and from the government, and dear friends from not only from Indonesia but also from Korea. Let me start with my deepest thanks to everyone for joining this virtual CEO Business Dialogue early this morning. I want to express my thanks to Kadin Indonesia for hosting this wonderful event. My special thanks go to Bapak Umar Hadi, Dubes Indonesia untuk Korea, for supporting this dialogue event and also for joining us from Seoul. Today's topic, enhancing trade and investment relations between Indonesia and Korea in the so-called fourth industrial revolution for IR is extremely relevant and also timely and also future-oriented in view of the upcoming ratification of ICA-SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and hopefully its effectuation sometime in the early part of 2021, next year. It is more relevant and more significant than ever, taking into account unprecedented challenges arising out of this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. It is well serving for business leaders and players from both Indonesia and Korea to think deep through for emerging needs for actions. Let me briefly share with you my views on opportunities ahead of us. I do not want to dwell on risks or obstacles which you may read and listen almost every day, maybe almost every hour from the media. Challenges coming from disruption and paralysis of global supply chain and production lines, and growing tension between the United States and China, and recession on a global scale. Those are things that you are now hearing from the media every day. So I don't need to dwell on that. I will focus on the brighter side of opportunities that we could grab, we could seize together. In one word, I would like to suggest to you one idea. Let us launch a new relations ahead of this IK, Indonesia-Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. That is Indonesia-Korea Industrial Alliance. We can chart out Indonesia-Korea Industrial Alliance under this newly emerging framework called ICA-SEPA. Why Industrial Alliance at this very moment in the midst of these challenges? First, it is high time to create and initiate such structured relations in industrial collaboration when we are now having ICA-SEPA in effect in the early part of 2021, next year. Second, in both our economies, industrial needs and structures are already getting more complementary than before, with more convergence of shared interest. They are becoming mutually reinforcing. Korea's capital, technology, and know-how can be well matched and combined together with Indonesia's resources, manpower, and market base. Third, rapidly changing external environments are also presenting us new opportunities. Brewing trade tension between Washington and Beijing, amplified by the coronavirus pandemic, will force some countries, some companies to alter their business models. They are often faced with decision to reorient their existing supply chains out of, for example, China. Diversification of production locations emerges as an effective option to deal with supply chain disruption amid this ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The concept of industrial alliance between our two countries is not a completely new one. We have seen textile and garment and footwear industries where industrial alliance, industrial alignment has been maintained almost for 30 years, 3 decades. POSCO, Krakatau Steel, their strategic partnership is another example, demonstrating the potential of the alliance's strengths. Now with so-called fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, ahead of us, we are able to enter into much upgraded and innovation-based industrial alliance. We all know automotive and petrochemical sectors are already moving on with some of Korean business groups like Hyundai Motors, Lotte Chemical already in place. Electric vehicle ecosystem can be another candidate for our industrial alliance. I was hearing from Pak Dubes, Pak Umar Hadi, that Mr. Yoon, the President Director of LG Corporation, is with us this morning, and I think this LG is one of the leading global producer of lithium-ion batteries and also excelling in industrial competitiveness. I think this electric vehicle ecosystem can be another option that we could work together. And fintech can be the next one to follow, I believe. And another important aspect to beef up our potential strengths for industrial alliance is emerging cooperation in research and development between the two industries. Increasingly, Korean companies are working together with Indonesian partners and research institutions like PPPT, ITB, and you name it. For example, bio and pharmaceutical, machinery, and even defense industrial sectors, they are the ones who are possibly and potentially carrying the flag. Again, let me emphasize to you, now is the time. It is time to act fast and to seize the opportunity. I think this industrial alliance concept can be discussed between the governments, two governments, but also between the two industrial and business communities so that we may have another even more upgraded, more substantiated, and more innovation-based kind of plateau that we could work together for the mutual benefits. In conclusion, I'll be completing my duties as ambassador to Indonesia quite soon after 2.5 years service for both Indonesia and Korea. I will leave Indonesia more convinced than ever of Indonesia's promise and of the vital importance of continuing to strengthen Korea-Indonesia partnership. I can assure you that I will continue to support the growing partnership and friendship between Korea and Indonesia. As an all-American pop song says, I left my heart in Indonesia. And no need to say goodbye to me because whenever we are always be in touch. Also, wherever you are, you will be always in my heart. I wish everyone continued success and good health. And also, I look forward to very lively and informative and insightful discussion this morning. Terima kasih. Thanks again for everything.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Kim Chang-bum, for the excellent remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to our next section, let me remind you once again to all our distinguished guests, toward the end of this event, we will have questions and answer sessions. So you can submit your question through Slido. Open your browser, type sli.do, and enter the event code 57300. Once again, open your browser, type sli.do, and enter the event code 57300. Allow me to continue to the next agenda. We will now have panel discussion session led by Mr. Bernardino Vega, Head of Permanent Committee for Asia Pacific, Kadin, Indonesia. Mr. Bernardino, you may take over now.
Thank you, Ibu Moderator, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, particularly to our two ambassadors, Excellencies Umar Hadi and Excellency Kim Jang-boon, for those very inspirational opening remarks. Also to our Vice Chairperson, Ibu Sinta Kamdani, who is always very active and takes a lot of initiatives in our business sector. Now, let me provide you a brief backdrop before we go into our discussions. There are several points that we'd like to touch upon in these discussions. First is the recent agreement on IK-SEPA, and we would like to know a bit more about what does the final document look like, because we know that the IK-SEPA discussions was initiated in 2012. It was suspended briefly in 2014, and now a couple of years back was taken up again. I think some of those discussions remain the same, but there are new discussions, and one of the discussions that we are interested in is how does the new IK-SEPA, or the one that we've just recently concluded, would dovetail into the new realities of today's economy, which is 4IR in particular. And so that, and in order to answer those, we have a group of distinguished panelists, senior government leaders, and as well as industry captains and CEOs of various industries, both in Indonesia and as well as Korea. We also have the Director General of Kotra at the Jakarta office this morning. So what I'd like to do is just to have these distinguished panelists to provide a few remarks on the trade and investment relations between Indonesia and Korea in the context of Industry 4.0, and what are the challenges ahead? What are the opportunities? His Excellency Ambassador of Korea has already outlined several opportunities, and let's discuss a little bit more on how we can deploy and enhance these discussions. The first of our panelists is actually is from the Ministry of Trade, Pak Jatmiko Wicaksono. He is the head of the Center for International Trade and Cooperation Studies at the Ministry of Trade. And for Pak Jatmiko, I'd like just to give a sense of the overview of the IK-SEPA discussions and what are the main indicators and the basic, what remains the same in the previous discussions and what has changed. Jatmiko, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dino. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to say annyeonghaseyo to Pak Dubes Umar, and selamat pagi to Pak Dubes Kim. It's very honored for me to hear your remarks this morning and the opportunity to be here in the virtual conference, business dialogue between Indonesia and Korea. Secondly, I think it's also important to convey and apologize from Pak Oke Nurwan. He's my chairman in the Agency of Trade and Research Research and Analysis for Trade in the Ministry of Trade. Actually, Pak Dino, yesterday I just been sworn in to be moved to my new post. So I'm no longer in the trader in the research agency of the Ministry of Trade. So I'll be as a Deputy Secretary General within the still in the ministry as the head for the legal and advocacy for trade. So pretty much I'm gonna dealing with all trade dispute under WTO since yesterday. So but now since Pak Oke, he have a conflict agenda for this morning. So he asked me to be present on behalf of him. So I would like to apologize for this one. Again, to the question of Pak Dino, of course, from my point of view, this Indonesia-Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership, of course, can be played as a strategic platform for the overall economic relationship between the two countries. Why? Definitely because we, at this point in time, we just only have the existing, the only one platform under the regional cooperation. Everyone knows the ASEAN-Korea FTA. But then I think this is a good decision. It's a very strategic, good decision between both sides after a very long hardship during the negotiation. I think I just want to recall what Bu Sinta has mentioned. Finally, we can set the deal and conclude the substantial negotiation last year. And of course, we are very much enthusiastic to welcome the signing for this agreement. I think it's still much better, even though it's a little bit coming a bit late. Why? First of all, because I think in terms of the benefits that we can derive from this comprehensive agreements, many things will be on the table for both sides. I think trade in goods is one major issues, and then trade in services. We also have some commitment in investment area, as well as on the cooperation and capacity building, CCB. And I think that will be a new platform for our businesses to go deeper, closer, and stronger to build our business, investment, and trade relationship. I know this is not everything in this ICA-SEPA. This is not 100% what we have. We are put on the table as well as from the Korean side. But from our perspective, this is a very significant improvement from what we have won at this point in time. I just give you just a little bit illustration on how much the improvement or the progress that we can agree under the ICA-SEPA. As I mentioned before, that the Indonesia and Korea, we just only have because I also personally have a emotional and historical relationship every time we talk about the ASEAN Korea, because back to 15 years ago, I was one of the lead negotiator for the ASEAN Korea FTA. So I know the feeling, I know the difference between the ASEAN Korea and Indonesian Korea. For instance, in ASEAN Korea, the opportunity on market access is much less than the Indonesia Korea. For instance, on the trade in goods, if I may to say, it's only cover around 80% of the in terms of the trade value as well as the tariff lines. And for Korea, it's only 90% of the both two caps, whether value or tariff line. But under the Indonesian-Korea SEPA, we can go much higher, we can go much deeper, we can go much comprehensive beyond the 90%. For instance, for Indonesia, we can go up to 93%. So I think there was around 30% of extension of the market access opportunity only from the trade in goods. And then from Korean side, almost 6% higher than the previous commitment under the ASEAN Korea. Here in Indonesian Korea, Korean side are willing to open up more and better market access up to almost 96%. So I think this is something very significant as a basis for the two sides of business community to further collaborate, whether in a very simple practice of trade or maybe up to the very comprehensive and like investment and so on and so forth. And that's the from the trade in goods. And on the trade in services area, we also have a couple of areas that we go further beyond the ASEAN Korea commitments. And I think this is something that two sides I would like also to encourage actually from our colleague from business community to make use of this one as maximum as possible. Of course, Indonesia, we have a very great interest on the capacity building, independent professional, as well as on a trainee. But we also offer quite meaningful as well as significant from a business point of view. For instance, we are open up and we also offer a good market access on distribution services, as well as on legal services, construction services. I think this is very much a good basis in the area of trade services. That's from the market access. I think the other area that's very important also for us to know is in the area of cooperations. I think at this point in time, we are going into very much, big window of opportunity to enhance as well as to promote as well as to support deeper, closer, and stronger collaboration in many tracks, not only at the government side, but I think there are two other areas that probably our colleague from those areas can make use of this opportunity. First, from the business aspect, and then the other one is from the academic, for instance, for research development, scientific collaborations. So the economic cooperation under ICSIPA, we have an umbrella for this very much closer cooperations. For instance, for the industrial cooperation, I think Pak Dubes Kim has mentioned very good point, industrial alliance, and we have now in a very unique platform for our economic cooperation, for our industrial cooperations, without undermining other specific, if I may to say. For instance, we have a very prospective in the area of automotive, steel and metals, chemical, petrochemical, information and communication technology, electronics, machinery, garment, textile and apparels, ship, building, aircraft, last but not least, food and beverage sector. And then we still another area that will be benefiting for both sides to be pursued under economic cooperation initiative. For instance, like agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, including the livestock and crop productions, improvement on investment condition in the field of fisheries and forestries, as well as the forest management and agro-based and food processing. And we are not stopped in that very how to say thematic as well as a very operational line of cooperation, but we also would like to cooperate in setting up the better facilitating framework of policy framework, so to say. For instance, on rules and procedure for trade. This is including, but I think not limited to on standard, technical regulation and conformity assessment procedures, sanitary and phytosanitary, as well as custom rules of origin. So I do believe with those kind of same frequency between both sides on very broad and comprehensive area, we can enter, we can tap into much closer collaboration at the many level. And we also have a more initiative what area will benefiting from this economic cooperation. I just would like to say a couple of things here, like on the small and medium-sized enterprise. I think we have a same channel, we have a same interest, we have same opportunity how we can support the policy that can enabling our SMEs. And then on statistic, infrastructure, investment, science, technology, and innovations, as well as culture. I think culture is play a very important role. Pak Dubes Kim, perhaps I'm one of the greatest fans of Korean culinary. So even though I buy perhaps Indomie or mie sedap, I always try to find the variant with the Korean style. But that's from instant noodle of Indonesian, but there's always a new brand, a new variant of with the Korean recipe, and so on and so forth. And I always try to take the chance to taste it, and that's nice. And other areas like creative areas, I believe, in the pop culture, and energy and mineral resources, healthcare, environment, and construction services. So that's, I think, Pak Dino, how broad and how comprehensive the existing platform. But it yet to be signed, yet to be everything, because of course there's still some item not on the table. But I do believe that we will have a very good basis for our future collaboration.
Okay, thank you, Pak Jatmiko, and congratulations again for your new assignment as the Director of Bureau for Trade Advocacy, MOT. And I'm sure we will be seeing you more often now. So Pak Jatmiko pointed out several important key elements in this new IKSEPA, which includes the trade and services, and also which supports the Ambassador Kim's earlier comments on the Indonesia-Korea Industrial Alliance. Now, our next panelist is from the Ministry of Industry, Pak Taufik Mawazir, who is the Director General of Metal, Machine, Transportation, and Electronic at the Ministry of Industry. Pak Taufik, thank you very much for your time. We'd like to get you a sense of what are the opportunities in the industry sector in the context of the AKSEPA. We know that we did a quick analysis. 92% of the products that are being exported to Korea falls under the WTO protocol. 93% of the products that Korea exports to Indonesia also falls into the WTO, which leaves 9% of the products, and I'm sure that there are opportunities there. But the one side is trade, the other side is investment. So industry becomes very important. I think an integral part of the IKSEPA discussions. So my question basically, or I'd like to get your view on what do you think? What are the sectors that would benefit in particular in this new IKSEPA? And are you seeing a shift, a change in the business model that's being developed, and what's the vision for the Ministry of Industry in addressing the Industry 4 IR? Thank you. Pak Taufik, the floor is yours.
Please, thank you for having me, Mr. Moderator. I hope all of you stay in health in the pandemic. COVID is Honorable Ambassador Indonesia for South Korea, Mr. Umar Hadi, and Ambassador Korea for Indonesia, Mr. Kim, and also our colleagues from the other ministry, and all the CEO, Chief Executive Officer from the South Korea, and Indonesian Chamber of Commerce of Industry, Chair and Member, Ms. Sinta. I think the message from the Ambassador Kim Chang is very important. Alliance, industrial alliance, we hope will be happen shortcoming. This is a very important because Indonesia, after Mr. President Jokowi launched Making Indonesia in the years 2018 in April, Ministerial Industry is laid out of Master Plan 4.0. The 5 sectors will be chosen in the future 4.0 in Indonesia. Is one sector important is petrochemical, and the second is sector textile, and third electronic and transportation, and also food and beverage. Why Indonesia choose that sector? Because 60% contribute of GDP industry is from that sector. 60% also contribute for export. 60% also is absorbed workforce. This is a very important. I know the Korea is many investment in Indonesia. I hope is continue investment in Indonesia because the very important is related with the comprehensive economic cooperation agreement (CEPA) with Korea. This is a very important because the investment is a one part of the total factory productivity. The key important for success in the 4.0 is innovation and technology. Korea have technology. Korea have a high skill. Is maybe in contact the internship and mentorships. Joint cooperation with Indonesia very important to leverage the capacity and capability of industrial sector. This is very important. And then the artificial intelligence is many the leader of political is saying the country that leads artificial intelligence will be rule of the world. This is important. Indonesia is I think the Korea is able to support us to construct the technology with the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and the other big data. This is an important factor to connecting machine to machines in the industrial sector, company by company. But the government is trying to set up the policy, the best for industry. This is a very important for us. In this discussion, I have the short presentation. Maybe the MC or the admins will be show our presentation, because yes, continue. This is enhance the value added and competitiveness industry through applied of Industry 4.0. We for outline the force is competitive, and maybe the pandemic Corona is a very maybe slums and plunge of utility and industrial sector. And then the change of consumer. I personally think the COVID is catalyst for industrial 4.0. In this dialogue, we are used the Zooms, meeting, internet, everything to discuss with among us, use the technology and digital. And next point, please. Now, we are starting off discussion. We must be understand about achievement of the economics. This is very important. We are Korea and Indonesia is same start as and around a year of 60, but achievement now, income per capita, GDP Indonesia and the Korea very different. Until now, maybe the data is around 2020 is around $4,000 per capita, and the Korea up $31,000 per capita. We understand also Indonesia is the big population, it's around 264 million people, and maybe Korea is also up to 52 million people. This is a consideration how the government to set up the policy and the other sector of health, sector education, and the other sectors will be accommodate the policy in Indonesia. And industrial sector in economy very important in Indonesia because the highest contribute to GDP. This is why Indonesia is how to push, how to modernize the technology to make efficiency in the industrial sector. The 5 sectors choose because that contribute the heck in economy. The next, please. This is a picture existing Indonesia and Korea. If you refer to competitiveness index, we are Indonesia maybe below the Korea. If you look the internet speeds, is the part of the success 4.0. Indonesia is maybe 7 megabit, and Korea is up is maybe 4 is 28. This is our consideration why infrastructure digital is very important. And with the industrial alliance with the Korea, South Korea is very important to implement how the digital, big data, and the other to support the industrial. This is very important. And the next, please. This is after COVID. Before the COVID, the discourse of the 4.0 is very intense in Indonesia. Every minister, every association, every organization is actively discuss 4.0 and impact and disruptive technologies will be discourse of the society. But in COVID, this is different. Many industry is hard hit and suffer. This is our consideration. Our priority now is in short term is maybe how to recovery. The industry will be implement again and active again to production, to increase utilization. This is our priority. A government should also give the stimulation to reduce the tax and the other fiscal to support and help the industry will be recovery. If you look the picture in the COVID, maybe any industry will be get the benefit also, and especially in the health sector, a high demand is like this maybe health equipment and masker and glove and the other, and also face shields in the protecting of the nurse and the people. This is a very important and opportunity. But the other sector in behalf of Directorate General of Machinery Electronic is many of them is hard suffer. Utilization is down. I hope the cooperation with the Korea will be increase the demand from the both country. And next, please. I refer this here. This is before COVID and after COVID in the Ilmate sector is maybe different. The utilization very plum and slum and down is almost average is 20% and 40%. This is our hard homework to recovery the industry to be back is minimal the normal situation. We are talking about the 4.0 is important also how to change the machine to improvement to increase productivity in each company. And the 5 sector is a very important. Maybe the 5 sector is also have the sensitivity in the technology disruption. I think electronic and transportation is very high sensitivity. We saw the utilization in the automotive sector is very falling in the utilization because many of the people is not the buying of automotive. Now they are thinking how to care about the health and the other is saving the money and maybe the other consumes maybe food and beverage and the other. This is a very important, the pictures of pictures. I hope the short terms cooperation with the South Korea will be increased and active utilization will be increased. Next slide, please. This is of course all the sector is changed behavior. I think all of you is maybe understand about physical is grocery is changed to digitalization, how to consumer behavior is changed in digitalization. This is must be fulfilled by the industrial sector. This is important. Next.
Can you conclude that in 2 minutes, Maaf?
Next. I think give you all the message. This is very important. For our before COVID is maybe role of industry is increased competitiveness. Yes, we are very optimism. And the tools of 4.0 maybe efficiency in the cost and the productivity and also sustainability and innovation. Before this course of the 4.0. But after COVID, we are changed everything. We must be survive the reduce of damage and also resilience. This is keep the business is going on, and we hope together government and business is together to recovery, and also yes to reduce of dependency and reliance of the people. We are use the digital technology to increase the consumer with the e-commerce maybe methods will be applied to the market. Which is the change of our methods to increase the demand. Next. This is Indonesia have the 10th priority related with the applied 4.0. I hope that after the COVID will be implemented gradually related with our 10th priority strategy. This first is how the raw material will be increased from the upstream sector and downstream sector. We are thanks to Korea because the investment is like a petrochemical, a lotte to substitute the plastic, because the Indonesian existing is import almost 50% virgin plastic from the foreign to Indonesia, because the high demand in Indonesia. With the investment from the Korea will be reduced. We are dependency for import. This is very important. And the other, maybe the POSCO, the steel metal is also Indonesia picture is still high import. With the POSCO, metal industry also will be our government priority to gradually to substitute imports will be happen. And second is we are designs of the zone industry. We have the many of industrial zone in Indonesia. Maybe the South Korea will be to get the benefit from the tax allowance, tax deductible, and the other fiscal benefit from the investor. And the second is we are actively to make the standard from increase the competitiveness. And also small medium enterprise will the priority of the government is use the digital technology, e-commerce, and funding of for small medium enterprise. And also we are build the infrastructure of national digital. This maybe the Korea is a success for 5G, and Indonesia maybe gradually to increase and strengthening the digitalization, because digitalization is very important, is a factor, total productive factor to increase the output of production in Indonesia. And 6 is attractive for foreign investor. The priority sector is a 5 sector. The priority 4.0 is will be our active to support and help the investor. I hope the South Korea investor will be increased to invest in Indonesia. And 7 is increase the quality of a skill. Skill for industry very important, because the key success of 4.0 is skill and innovation. How to upgrade the capacity of human resource development is very important. And 10 is create is innovation ecosystem, and science and technology is a very important to link and match with the demand of industry. I look the lesson learned from the South Korea very important, because the link and match South Korea with the industry very successful. We know, understand about the product of innovation like drone, a self-driving cars, and the other application artificial intelligence is also created and innovated by the South Korean company. And 9 is maybe incentive. We are tax exemption and subsidies and funding supporting from the adoption of technology. And Indonesia maybe is need learn from the Korea. Korea have the some council is transfer technology. This is a very important to adopt. This maybe, yes, I don't know about the reverse engineering to apply to industry. This is a very important. And 10 is maybe harmonize about the policy and regulation. Harmonized regulation is external factor to increase total productivity. This is important also. How the government is to easing doing the business sector to increase the output to economic. And next.
Can you include the discussions? But I'm sorry, we have other panelists.
Okay. This is I think this point important is one, we are hope to close relationship with the South Korea to increase innovation, increase investment, and also lesson learned the policy and capacity building regarding the increased human resource development and also technology. I hope the Korean company will be built in Indonesia. Technology is supplied the domestic market in Indonesia to increase the productivity, and that is get the benefit both country. I think this point of I present this meeting, but after that we are more invite the discussion related with the
Thank you, Pak.
state
Yes,
of the
course.
art. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Pak Dirjen. Those are very timely and very relevant discussions, especially in the pre-COVID and post-COVID era that we're facing. I'd like to get the sense of the business community now. We have four very prominent business individuals, industry captains and business leaders in Indonesia, Pak Adi Lukman, Pak Hamdani Zulkarnain, Ibu Ana Patricia Sutanto, and of course, our very own Pak Yongki Sugiarto, and also the Director General of Kotra Jakarta office, which I'd like to get some comments from him also. But let me first start with Pak Adi, who is the chairman of the Indonesia Food and Beverage Manufacturers Association, to get your view on what are the opportunities that you see in this new post-COVID world in the context of the IKSEPA in the food and beverage industry yourself. Pak Adi, may I kindly remind Pak Adi, we have 5 minutes. We will have discussions after this. So if you could limit your presentation to 5 minutes, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Dino, as a moderator, Excellency, Ambassador in Korea and Ambassador Indonesia for Korea, Bu Sinta, and all others participants and speakers. Due to the time limit, only 5 minutes, I will just a short brief of about the food and beverage industry. This is our Indonesian vision towards 2045, which is the Indonesian 100 years. We will have a GDP per capita will be $23,000 US. Current GDP is around 4,000. So this is a huge opportunity for the food and beverage industry. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic, household consumption growth is dropped a lot from 5% to only 2.8%. And of course, this is impact to the food and beverage industry demand and also the growth. In the first quarter, our growth only 3.9%. Yes, last year 7.9%. So we still hope that we can grow around 4 to 5% projected in 2020. This is the South Korea investment in the F&B industry 2017-2019. That is only 3.5% from the total investment in the F&B industry, foreign direct investment. So I would like to invite the Korean side to invest more in Indonesia for F&B industry, collaboration with the Indonesian company and others. And this is just a landscape of F&B industry. We still increase our export until March, but decline after March because of the pandemic COVID. And also for the South Korea specific product, HS 16 to 22, our export to Korea is only around 175 million US dollar, and we import from the Korea last year around 134 million US dollar. So this is still we can improve, increase our export to and import from between Indonesia and Korea. During the pandemic COVID-19, so many problem happens, including the decrease the consumptions and also some product categories still increase like milk, spices, cooking oil, flour, biscuit, instant food, and other nutritional foods. And many consumer concerned about the food safety, and also some shifting happens about the food safety during the COVID. And so food and beverage industry must be ready to adapt the changes. And after COVID, now we are entering the new normal of F&B industry, especially related to this event. We are more expected to use a more human-to-machine interface. This is a Industry 4.0 to ensure the food safety matters, and also some changing in channel of sales marketing from multi-channel to omni-channel. So all this is related to Industry 4.0, and I think this is already mentioned by Pak Taufik Bawasir, and also this is already mentioned by Pak Taufik. We have a Indy 4.0 to measure our readiness of index of implementing the Industry 4.0, and also this is some challenges in implementing 4.0, including now we are entering to the automations and also human-machine interface, robotic, etc. So this is the chance of the Indonesian-Korea cooperation to improve our collaborations. Because we know South Korea is advanced in innovation, advanced in technology compared to Indonesia. So we do hope we can do collaboration and cooperation with Korea, especially the ICT and also the trade. Because Indonesia has natural resources, Indonesia has a workforce, Indonesia has a market, and we hope Korea use the advanced technology, skilled human capital, and innovation ecosystem can make a collaboration with Indonesia to enter the global value chains. And
thank you,
okay. And this is just a summary. So we have to increase our trade between two countries and eliminate the technical barriers. We implement the Industry 4.0 and also in collaboration investment and utilizing natural resources for producing added values and collaboration of technology. Okay, thank you,
thank you,
for
Adi Lukman. Thank you very much. Very, very good points. And this is actually dovetailing into our next panelist, Pak Hamdani Zulkarnain, the human-machine interface. Pak Hamdani is the chairman of the Automobile and Motorcycle Equipment Industry Association. Pak Hamdani, please comment on what's your view on the AKSEPA and how real is this human-robot interface? Thank you, Pak. The floor is yours. Pak, I think you're still muted, Pak.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you, Pak Dino, as a moderator. His Excellency, Mr. Kim, and Pak Umar, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This is a great honor for me to participate in this event. Yeah, my name is Hamdani. I'm the chairman of GIAM. I will try to present as fast as possible. Next. Next, please. Yeah, next. Next. Yeah. I will. Sorry, can we go back? Yeah. This is Indonesia is one of the countries that have a big contribution from the manufacturing. And this is maybe already explained by Pak Taufik, that the 5 sectors prioritized. And then in automotive, we have many initiatives. One of them is strengthen local production of key auto components. That's related with our association. Next. Next, please. Yeah, and this is the approach that we, sorry, can we go back? The approach that we choose to achieve the four industrial revolutions. We define Industry 4.0 as a smart factory. What is a smart factory? Smart factory actually is an advanced automation application in software level and also high connectivity. Yeah. And of course, involving an artificial intelligence. So there are 3 big issues in that smart factory, that is automation, connectivity, and digitalization. And in our association or our groups, we focus on creating the value or higher productivity or improve the quality instead of just implement the most cutting edge technology or so on. Next. Next is the schematic of factory. Next, please. Yeah, I think everybody already knows about this. Yeah, this is the terminology, and then this is the example of the successful of some companies. I take it from Bosch, and also next, the other companies is POSCO from Korea. Yeah, maybe it's no need to explain so in detail. And next. Today we are facing the global pandemic condition, global COVID-19, and we think that with this condition, we even need to implement Industry 4.0 earlier, because with this condition, we have to do everything in a remote situation, and also we need a data, we need a digital application and everything. So we try to think in positive way that the condition is encourage us to implement it in a more faster way. Next. Next. Yeah. This is the implementation that implement actually in our groups. Yeah, I'm the CEO of Astra Auto Parts, and we have about 55 companies, and we try to implement Industry 4.0 with this kind of approach. The left one is the current condition. Yeah, of course, some or many companies already implemented the automation, and then we do in the middle is our way or our step to achieve the condition of the smart factory or for industry revolutions. I will explain about the left one and the middle one in the next slide. Next, please. Yeah, this is the current condition. I think everybody knows that some companies already implement this, whether there is the box type automation, simple automation, line automation, or even complex automation. Next. And now we are in our groups, we call it step 0, step 1, step 2, and step 3. First is we do an assessment the condition, and then we try to implement the evaluation analysis, the dashboard, and then the next step we will analysis with improve the data, and on the last step we will apply the artificial intelligence. Next. Yeah, this is the one of the example in our groups. The PT Akibono Break Astra Indonesia, we already implemented about the automation, connectivity, and also digitalization. Later, if there are some questions, please feel free to ask. Next. Yeah, this is the challenges that we facing. Actually, many challenges, but I try to find out 2 of them: the people skills and also the technology. Yeah, in this 2 things, I think Korea is more advanced than us. So in the future, I think we can collaborate more with Korea to avoid or to face this kind of challenges. Thank you. Maybe I already explained.
Thank you, Pak Hamdan. That's quite interesting. Quite interesting the way you try to dovetail human resource with robotics, and how you pick and choose in the industry. I'd like to get another view from Ibu Anna Patricia Sutanto, who is the leader of the chairman of the Indonesia Trade Textile Association.
Yes.
You're in.
So good morning, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Excellencies, Pak Umar, Mr. Kim, Bu Sinta, Pak Dino, Pak Jadwiko, Pak Taufik, and fellow panelists. I would like to go to our slides, if you don't mind, host. My slides. So let's go to page 2 directly, where I would like to show the audience how big our textile and garment industry at this point of time. So in year 2019, this is exactly the investment value in Indonesia, about 365 billion rupiah, and then also our 365 trillion rupiah. I'm sorry. And then our labor, this is a labor intensive because we are more into the downstream business compared to our textile. And total, we employ about direct labor about 2.7 million people with the if you look at on the right hand corners in 2007 positions 50 garment, and then on spinning 14%, weaving and knitting, which is the fabric. Can we go to slide 5, because the rest of my slides, the other panelists have also viewed that, you know. And on this page 5, I would like to show you the ambitions and our pathway towards 5% market share. Because in 2018, Indonesia market share globally on textile and garment is about 1.78%. But our wish list, our aim, actually, despite COVID-19, is at in 2030 is at 5%, where we plan to employ about 3.9 million labor intensive, even though we are doing industry 4.0, and our export contribution we aim at 48.2 billion US dollar compared to our existing one in 2018 at 13.2. Yeah, I know it's COVID-19, but I told the rest of association textile members that, look, COVID-19 has some downfall for us, but this would be also a good pathway for Indonesia to show to the world that we could do much better than our counterpart within the industry of this garment and textile. How to do that? Actually, this is what we shown here is the utilization of our installed capacity has to be very efficient and optimal because we are on global view. So this is not about a country of origin only, but this is also about the battle of brain and the battle of innovation and creativity. And thus, we also explored the Making Indonesia 4.0 since 2018. So it's not only about automation and digitalization, but beyond that is the humanity of this industry, because it's all about creativity as well as innovations. So within the Indonesia supply chain, we try more and more to actually have the domestic supply chain to strengthen our upstream. We work collaboratively among the members, and we hope by 2025 we are more we have more innovations inside. And our hope, our wish list later on I will show you in page 7, but our wish list is to collaborate among the industry with Korea for sure, because Korea has been very fast forward also on fashions. So this is the collaborations that we would like to see with Indonesia, Korea under the, we hope that this also being shown later on. We know the collaborative with it can be done, and then technical assistance that the fashion industry in Korea is booming because of the drama Korea and the Korea artists. and Indonesia is always following this trend as well. And market source commitment, I think Indonesia and Korea, and even with our members inside Indonesia API, we have a lot of Korean members as well, Korean-based Indonesia members, who we can do collaborations in a short, medium, and long term. And product development is something that we always aim with Korea, especially when you have Dongdaemun. We always have a wish list that Tanah Abang, our Tanah Abang, can be the next Dongdaemun branch, because we believe that the innovation is always the winning side of this textile industry. And again, research collaborations among us is something that we need to strike forward, and we hope that there is steps. So it's not just a wish list, but it's also a realization list that the dream can come through if we do something. And it's COVID, non-COVID, we have the new norm in the industry. We already have the new normal since early on in March, because the industry of textile and garment, we could not afford a lockdown. So this is something that the Minister of Industry agreed early on. That's why a lot of our members is part of the registration within the Ministry of Industry, so that we can still full force within the industry. So far, Dino, I would like to return it back to you.
Thank you.
We have more discussion on this area.
Yes.
Thank you.
And indeed, it's very interesting how you integrate the fashion industry with the textile, and you sort of combine this human capacity and creativity into the process, making the whole industry more efficient and more productive. The next speaker is someone that I've known very, very closely for quite a while, Pak Yongki Sugiarto, who's the co-chair of the Association of Indonesian Automotive Industry, and he is also the chairman of Kadin Indonesia, a bilateral committee for Indonesia and Korea. Pak Yongki, can you give us an overview of the discussions that have been discussed before? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dino. Excellency Ambassador Kim, Excellency Ambassador Umar Hadi, Ibu Sinta, Pak Jatmiko, Pak Taufik Bawazir, Director General Lee, and fellow panelists. In fact, I would like to share some slides with you. Basically, wait a minute, ini sini.
Tell them to stop sharing.
Now it is now.
Tell them to stop sharing.
Pak Anthony, what happened now? Because now it is the presentation of Director General.
Yeah, can we have Pak Yongki's presentation, please?
Okay. Yeah, because before Pak Taufik Bawazir, our Director General, has explained the guidance of the Ministry of Industry about this Industrial 4.0. And then Pak Hamdani has also explored many issues on the 4.0 Industrial Revolution as well. Therefore, I better go into more a little bit the update about the automotive industry in the country, because at the end of the slides will be almost the same, the presentation with the other gentlemen. Klik mana ya? Yeah, as you may know that Indonesia at the moment is the second largest producer of automotive in ASEAN after Thailand. We produce about 1.2 up to 1.3 million vehicle a year, whereas Thailand is at the moment more than 2 million. The market itself, Indonesia is the leading in ASEAN. We are having about 1.1 million cars sold every year, where Thailand itself is now around about 1 million. So we are number one in ASEAN. We will continue, hopefully, with that number. Even though with the COVID, but we do not know how other neighbor countries doing at the moment. That is the opportunity of Indonesia itself in among ASEAN countries. It's very important numbers. Indonesia at the moment is having only 99 cars per 1,000 people, whereas other countries having already like Malaysia 490 cars, Thailand 275, Vietnam 34, and so on. So therefore, Indonesia is still room to grow in that sector, automotive sector especially. We have 270 million people population-wise. We are having production only 1.2 or 1.3 million at the moment, as I said before. But our installed capacity is over than 2.2 million. So we are working about only 60-65% of our total installed capacity. So that is still a very big room to grow in that sense when we look at the 99 unit of cars per 1,000 people only. Malaysia, again, 490, Thailand, 275, and as well as the other countries. So in Asia itself, Indonesia is ranked number 5 among the countries. China, of course, number 1, Japan, number 2, India, South Korea, and then Indonesia with 1.2 million cars a year. Due to the COVID-19 issues, we have changed our forecast for this year from 1.1 million to become only 600,000 until end of the year. We do hope that we can achieve that one by end of the year. Let's see how the other countries performing in this year as well. So if you look at how many people are working in the automotive sector in Indonesia, we can count about 1.5 million are employed in the automotive sector, starting in the factory, assembly plant, as well as manufacturing plant, and then the tier 1 industry, that is Pak Hamdani sector, that is the component industry and so on, and then goes to the dealers, outlet of so workshops and so on. Altogether is about 1.5 million people are involved in the automotive industry in Indonesia. Our target or government target until 2025, we should be able to export 1 million cars. At the moment, or until last year, we are only exporting about 330,000 cars a year. Of course, it is about only 1/3 of Thailand, what Thailand is doing. They are exporting about 1.2 million cars a year. Therefore, we have to, of course, work very hard on that sector. We have to diversify our product itself because at the moment, our manufacturing of cars here in Indonesia is concentrating only on so-called MPV, multi-purpose vehicle, 7-seater, and so on, because it is the biggest demand in the country. But we have to diversify the models, what we are producing in the country, to be able to export as well. Because the demand in the world is not on MPV, or not on that model what we are producing at the moment. They are more on sedan or SUV models and so on. So we have opened up our country for electric vehicles, of course. We have some regulation 2019 through the Presidential Decree number 55, as well as some other government regulations. However, we understand that in the world, the cost of an electric car is still quite expensive compared to what we can achieve or afford to buy here in the country. Yeah, the cheapest hybrid car is if we import from outside, will cost us about 500 million rupiah. where at the moment in Indonesia, the best seller of cars are 300 million and below. This is about 50% of those cars are priced in this the price range of 300 million and below. That is just a few of how much the electric cars or the hybrid cars and the plug-in hybrid cars will cost us if we are importing or producing the cars in the country. And the red one is the cars where we at the moment having the biggest market share in the country. So go to environment, we have also chosen already now in the diesel that we are going to B30. We are using more and more palm oil to be mixed with our diesel fuel and so on. And we are now going into the, what you call it, lower emission with that diesel as well. So therefore we are now in a good track on that particular issue. So now and future, many developing nations will reach income per capita 10 to 20,000 for the first time in the coming years. So therefore we are now heading ahead of that. We will definitely go into that direction as well. And therefore we are optimistic that this buying power of Indonesia will also increase to that sector. So therefore this electric car or hybrid car and so on will on one side maybe also going to be cheaper. On the other side, the buying power or the income per capita of Indonesian population will also increase from nowadays is about $3,800 US. And on the technology, of course, we are heading also to the digitization, increasing of automation and so on, which has been explained by Pak Hamdani before. Pak Hamdani is doing that from the point of component manufacturing, but in the automotive production as well, I believe that it is not different what Pak Hamdani has explained before. But anyway, we will go, that is the automotive industry is the driving force of Industry 4.0. As mentioned before, there are 5 sectors: automotive, food and beverage, chemicals, electronic, textile, and apparel. So among others in the automotive is definitely, we have to go into that direction. However, we have to be realistic as well, where because this industrial revolution or 4.0 industrial revolution is always depending on the economic scale. So when we see the production is only 1.2 million, that is 24 brand here in the country and so on, we can imagine already how efficient will be if we are now going to that direction at the moment. So this industrial 4.0 will be going then in stages in the automotive industry. So again, I will have to point it out that the economic scale is very, very playing a very big role. We know that the efficiency will be there. Yeah? Robot in the automotive industry will be as well be used once it is then already reaching the economic scale. I think the last slide is the harmonization of motor vehicle. Yeah. That is what the government is doing at the moment, that we are going to reduce the luxury taxes by October 10, 2021. The new regulation will be depending on the emission, which is very, very good, of course, because we want to reduce the emission as far as possible in that respect. So therefore, the Industry 4.0 in the automotive will be following, number one, the guidance of the Ministry of Industry, what has been explained by Pak Taufik before, as well as following what has been explained by Pak Hamdani before from the GIAM side, from the component side, because it is a component, and on the other side is now the automotive industry itself. I think, moderator, it is from my side. Our presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bayonki. Thank you for that comprehensive overview. Our last panelist is Mr. Jong-Yun Lee. He is the Director General of Kotra, Jakarta office. Now, I'm mindful that we have gone over our time we have gone over 30 minutes of our time. We do have a panel discussions after Mr. Lee's presentation, and we also have question and answers from Slido. But what I would like to do is, in the interest of time and efficiency, I'd like to just combine the panel discussions into the Q&A, so we can discuss things that are being asked by our participants. That being said, our last panelist is Mr. Lee, Director General Kotra Jakarta office. So Mr. Lee, the floor is yours. Please, the time is limited to 5 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jong-Yun Lee, Kotra Jakarta Director General. And first of all, I would like to thank His Excellency, Ambassador Umar Hadi, His Excellency Chang Bom Kim, and all the panelists and participants today. Would you bring my presentation? Enhanced business partnerships between Indonesia and Korea is today's topic that I will address. There are two themes with that in mind. The first subcategory is bilateral trade and investment relationship between Korea and Indonesia among ASEAN countries, 10 countries. And then I will talk about the current cooperation between Korea and Indonesia, and also future potential of cooperation. And then if, because we are running out of time, I will skip introducing Kotra. Next. Next slide. Next slide, please. Previous one. Okay, let's look at the Korea's trade to ASEAN countries. Okay, this slide shows that Indonesia is the #1 economy in ASEAN in terms of GDP and population. Next, please. And Indonesia is ranked 6th country in terms of trade export from Korea. #1 country is Vietnam. It's quite similar to Korea's import from ASEAN countries as well. Next. Next, please. When you look at ASEAN's export to the world, Indonesia is conspicuous because it focused more on natural resources and minerals. Fat and minerals are the top export items. It is contrast to Vietnam, where they have export a lot of machinery and electronics. Next slide. Next slide, please. This shows Korea's FDI among ASEAN countries. Korea's investment heavily directed toward Vietnam. And this is Korea's FDI in manufacturing sectors among ASEAN countries. Indonesia, Vietnam is quite similar, that Korea's investment is toward heavily in manufacturing industry, but in subcategories is quite different. Indonesia is more focused on metals and clothing apparels, whereas Vietnam is more focused on electronics, machinery, and apparel. Next slide. Next slide, please. This shows Korea's export and import with Indonesia. Korea's FDI in Indonesia, especially in the manufacturing sector, the number one subsector is leather, bags, and shoes. And then chemicals, cars, and clothing follows. Next slide, please. When you look at this slide, we can see Vietnam is export-oriented country, whereas Indonesia relatively domestic market-oriented country. That's why Korea's investment and trade heavily dependent on Vietnam in ASEAN countries. Next slide. Now, in this, Indonesia, as we know, has huge domestic market, and the Indonesian government is making Indonesia 4.0 policy to digitalize its economy. And Korea, as you know, we have technology and also human capital, and also as many other countries, the Korean government also pushing the digital transformation under the I-Korea 4.0 policy. From both sides, we draw two areas for cooperation. One is manufacturing, the other one is infrastructure. For further expedite this cooperation and business potential, to make this business potential realized, we need to recommend the Indonesian government to improve the investment and business environment. Next slide, please. We have traditionally, we have good relationship in the textile, leather, and footwear industry, but this industry mainly was chosen because to reduce the cost of labor costs and other costs. But as time goes by, Korean investment is more focused on domestic market, as in food industry, chemicals, electronics. After we experiencing US-China trade conflict and COVID-19 pandemic, many Korean companies, they realized the importance of stable supply chain and also market diversification, in addition, instead of focusing solely on Chinese market. Pharmaceuticals, and next slide, please. These days, LG Electronics and Hyundai Motor Groups, they are relocating their plant, or they are newly invest in this market, targeting domestic market plus regional market and overseas market. I think this trend is quite important for Indonesia. We can further, both parties further explore business cooperation potential from this perspective. Next slide, please. The next is infrastructure. Indonesia is the second biggest construction market for Korea. And also Indonesian government heavily invests in improving infrastructure to make the Indonesian economy more competitive. Many Korean companies are participating in infrastructure projects such as water treatment, road, building, transportation, and energy. Recently, LRT, many Indonesian people enjoy riding on LRT made by Korean consortium. Next slide, please. I think in the near future, we have good potential for cooperation in smart grid, smart city, smart logistics. This part reflect the 4.0 or fourth industrial revolution. As you know, KEPCO has competitiveness and also great skill in smart grid. Their AMI is world renowned. And also in Korea, we have many smart cities that are developed. And also Sejong and Busan, we are developing a comprehensive smart city under the government support. Next slide, please.
Can you wrap it up, Mr. Lee, in 2 minutes?
Okay,
Thank you.
I already explained about this improving the business environment. And then, okay, I will end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General Lee, and that's very, very relevant discussions. There's a few things that Mr. Lee touched on, which is what I want to jump start into the discussions. I looked at the Slido. We have about 15 questions in Slido, and with the permission of the moderator and the organizer, I would like to just combine the panel discussions and the Slido Q&A. I noticed that in the Slido, there are some questions that are almost the same. It relates to the relevancy of IKSEPA, the timeline of IKSEPA, and as well as, what are the challenges that we're now facing now. So I'd like to take that question, understanding that, we've all had our presentations, but let's get down to the business really. I mean, how do we implement this IKSEPA, and what are the opportunities that you guys are looking at? And, realistically, can it be done? I mean, Indonesia faces current challenges in trying to improve their business, the regulatory framework, the business environment. Is it possible to create the industrial alliance amidst the challenges we have? Can I have a comment from Jatmiko first? Give us your view on some of the challenges we have in the IKSEPA, and what are the how do you see us going forward on this? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Dino. I think I saw many questions from the Slido, and many of the question is pertaining the curiosity on when it will be happen, the signing, and when for people, the businesses can actually utilize the window opportunity derived from this agreement. But before we go into the more implementations phase, I believe we need to finalize first the signing agreement. I mean, we have concluded the negotiations since last end of this last year's, I think December or November. But then back then we have a plan to have a signing this March, but then we have a force majeure of the pandemic. I think both sides will need to find a more suitable time. We are going to sign this agreement, a very strategic platform. Actually, from our previous experience, if the condition or the situation is not enable us to, to hold ceremonial signing ceremony, so to say. Perhaps the only one possible thing is make at referendum, not virtual. Virtual is not possible, I believe, but we call it legally speaking at referendum signing. So the agreement will be signed separately. I mean, how to say, subsequently, perhaps in the Korean first, the document, and then it will be the text will be bring to Indonesia, and then Indonesian side, or otherwise, Indonesian first, and then the Korean side. That I think the only possible thing, taking into account the current condition situation of the pandemic. So once the agreement has been signed, and then both sides have need to have their internal procedures, or ratifications through the parliament. So I believe Korean side also have to go through the parliament to have the ratification, as well as the Indonesian side. For that, that one, I think, of course, it will take time, a couple of months, perhaps 3 months, and then
thank you.
Once ratification done, and then it will be implemented.
Okay, so my next, I'd like to get a sense from the business community. I mean, Pa Adi and Bu Ana, can you comment a bit about, what are some of the quick wins you see in this agreement, particularly in how to integrate, dovetail it into a 4.0 industry, or increase productivity through this agreement. How do you see? What are the short quick wins? Adi and Ibu Ana, can you give us a quick sense of what your view is?
Okay, thank you, Pak Dino. I think we have to enter into the details what IK-SEPA is agreed, because so far not many of the business community aware about this IK-SEPA for the next year. So first we have to go to the detail for each sector, and then regarding the implementation of Industry 4.0, we understand that Korea is advanced in this sector. So we hope that Korea could collaborate with Indonesia to build the circumstance of the implementation of the Industry 4.0, especially in the food and beverage industry. We know the many technologies and many advanced in the Korea side. And of course, we have natural resources, we have a workforce, and if we combine, and then we can go and enter to the global value chain markets, because this is the opportunity for Indonesia and Korea as well. And then the third, I think we have some challenges between Indonesia and Korea, especially the tariff barriers. So we do hope in the IK-SEPA in the next year, all tariff barriers will be lifted, and then we can enter to the SEPA is more efficient and more build a big market for the both countries, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bu Ana, quick comment from you. I mean, what are you seeing as quick wins in this?
What I could see is actually more on the product development collaborations that can lead into the collaborations among the Korea manufacturing as well as Indonesia manufacturing versus the Korean innovations.
Hello.
Versus Indonesia textile and garment. So this is like, because Korea is also quite lead up versus Taiwan in terms of performance as well as outerwear. So this could be a good benefit of the product development. Second of all, on the trade among, for example, Dongdaemun versus Tanah Abang. It's always a site where we can actually also
Hello. Buana, I think we lost you a bit there. Hello. I think I've lost Buana. I haven't. So okay, right. Hello. I can't hear Buana, Patricia. So let me just move to if you guys can hear me. Let me just move to Director General Lee. I mean, you mentioned earlier. On the regulatory framework. What are some of the issues that the Korean companies are having in investment in Korea? I see your slide, Indonesia versus Vietnam, and we're seeing that Vietnam is getting the majority of the investment from Korea. What's your view on, or what's your data saying to us in terms of challenges in investing in Korea, and how does ICASEPA improve that? Director General Lee, if you may give your comment. You're still muted. Shirley, you're still muted. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think for the bureaucratic inefficiency, there's not a great difference between countries in ASEAN 10 members. But for the regulatory issue, I think Korean companies, they need to get a lot of certificate, SNI, Halal, PECO. So, and also whenever they get this kind of license, they have to select only one companies in many cases. That limit Korean companies freedom of business, doing business with local partners in Indonesia. That can be a problem. And also there is a sharp increase in labor cost. You have your own method of calculating wage increase every year, but that does reflect the GDP growth plus inflation rate. In recent years, it's more than 88%. That's quite a higher rate and a huge increase in terms of labor cost. That affects many Korean companies who are willing to invest in this market. These are the concern among the Korean companies.
Very good. I think can I get a comment from Pak Taufik Bawazir, Pak Dirjen, on some of the policy changes that you will be making, you are making in terms of addressing some of these challenges that investors are facing when they invest into Indonesia, especially in the manufacturing industry. Pak Taufik, if you can give us your view. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. We hope the industrial alliance will be happen, because the government is open to hearing of a need of the company from the Korea. I look the data from Mr. Yun Lee, is the gap between investor to the Korea, to Vietnam and Indonesia is very big here. This is how we hear what the problem is. Essentially, the government will be hearing what the incentive will be give to Korean company. Will be here and prepare for the communicate between Ministry of Finance, investment boards. What different with the Vietnam? we are hearing and will give to Korean investor, South Korean investor. This is an important
point.
The dialogue, intense dialogue is very important. I appreciate the Kadin is also intense communicate with the private company in the Korea. The government communicates and will be solved together. I hope the future, the comprehensive economic partnerships will be give competitiveness with Indonesia and South Korea. I think that's my short message. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dujan. Pak Hamdani and Pak Yongki, can you share your views on this? You're basically in complementary sectors, and how do we move forward? How do we improve the policy framework? Pak Hamdani, can I seek your views on this?
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Dino. Maybe we should see the fact first here that in automotive industry in Indonesia, 95% or more than 95% are dominated by Japanese maker, and also happens not only in four-wheeler but also two-wheelers. But actually, Korea can play more roles in that situation. In terms of technology, I believe, and everybody believe that Korea is not far behind if we compare with Japan. So in fact, in our experience, when we start some business with components, we didn't come to Japan to buy a machinery, but we came to Korea because in terms of cost and everything is cheaper, but in terms of technology is not far behind from Japan. So I believe that if Korea and Indonesia have more intention, or in the future Korea more active to collaborate with in the industry in Indonesia, I think it's a big opportunity for both of us.
Pak Yongki, can you comment?
Yeah.
Bisa tambah?
Yeah, I believe that what is Pak Hamdani saying is very correct. Therefore, I purposely only put today my presentation more into the opportunities in Indonesia and so on, because I believe that Korea is now opening up and going outwards towards the investments, especially now Indonesia, Vietnam, and so on are their directions. So Indonesia is very potential, number one. Number two, Korea can put, of course, more investment in the country, and in that respect, industrial revolution 4.0, Korea is, of course, more advanced than Indonesia, but basically we are now in the early stage. Therefore, if Korea would like to come more and more to Indonesia, I believe they have a very big and good chances here in the country. Therefore, we have to really push that into that direction for Korean industry to Indonesia, especially in the component manufacturing. As Pak Hamdani said, that the market is dominated 95% from the Japanese. However, the aftermarket, we are talking about aftermarket, not only OEM, but aftermarket is very, very open. That component makers of Korea can also produce some component in Indonesia for Japanese cars. Why not? Yeah. That is, I believe, the opportunity for Korean component makers. That is what we have to emphasize and enhance more into that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Yongki. I think what we want to do now is try to, I don't think we can answer all the questions that are in the Slido. But I want to, before I make my closing remarks as a moderator as scheduled, I am mindful that we are 10 minutes beyond schedule, but can I have a last comment from Mr. Lee? Because I find it's interesting that some of the questions also addresses the COVID-19 issue and how the cooperation can, what kind of cooperation between Korea and Indonesia in the midst of this pandemic. Can you just give us a quick comment on that?
During the pandemic, as you saw, many Korean companies actively participate in CSR program. And as in my previous presentation, I mentioned about the changing of value chain. Many Korean companies look for new opportunity in ASEAN countries, especially in Indonesia and Vietnam, because they need to make secure their supply chain. And also they need to diversify, heavily focused on Chinese market. They are looking for a China plus one plan. So Indonesia will have a good chance to see more investment from Korea.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Lee. With that and with your kind indulgence, I'd like to conclude this morning's discussions on Indonesia and Korea, IKSEPA Industry 4IR. I'd like to give special thanks to Ambassador Umar Hadi and Ambassador Kim Jong-un, who has graced this webinar with their presence, as well as Ibu Sinta Kamdani, Pak Jatmiko, Pak Taufik, Pak Adi, Pak Hamdani, Ibu Anne, Pak Yongki, and Mr. Lee. Thank you for providing this very fruitful and very productive discussions this morning. I think, in conclusion, I think these new opportunities will come up. Indonesia and Korea remains a strong alliance. Korean businesses have been in Indonesia for decades. They are here to stay. Many are an integral part of our economy and our community. And with that, I thank you again, all the panelists, your excellencies, as well as the participants for participating in this webinar this morning. Stay safe, take care, and I hope your day will continue to be productive. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dino.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Mbak Duta Besar, Pak
Pak Dirjen, Pak Jatmiko,
Pak Jongki, Pak Jatmiko,
Pak Yogi, Mr. Lee, thank you, Director General Lee.
Thank you, everyone.
Dirjen Pak
Pak
Yongki.
Jatmiko, selamat ya pelantikannya.
Pak
Thank you.
Terima kasih, Pak.
Terima kasih.
Thank you, Pak.